You've been here before, maybe even today. You type in a prompt to build a feature, click enter, the agent goes off and builds the code and the feature and says, it's all good. We've seen this. Generating code is really simple and cheap, and you get a PR, in this case adding budgets, expenses, import export, and a expense tracking app will demonstrate in this particular video. And here it's just 3 files, but look at those 3 files. You need to review that, and you need to review multiple PRs because code is so cheap and easy. This became the bottleneck. And your job? To scroll. This looks like a classical LGTM and off we go, right? That is a problem. There's a difference between vibe coding and production grade code that's extendable and optional. And this is where I'll show you a bunch of ways to tackle that and how I approach that and the research that I've done around that. What you've seen now is the reality of coding in this day and age. The amount of code shot up, and the generation of code is no longer the bottleneck. Whereas before you had 3 PRs, it was easier to review them, even if they were long. Now, this process needs to happen 15 times per day. The bottleneck is reviewing, and it hasn't been solved. First, it's really hard to define ground truth of what good code is. And the second is if you just auto-approve, and that is a big problem, you're putting a lot of vibe code, you lose optionality, it's not modularity, and the agent doesn't understand. You just go, got you, and blast the next one, and he's even biased to tell you that it's correct. So what we'll see today is mechanisms. I've researched this a lot and experimented a lot, and I suggest you do the same. I'm going to give you tips and tricks on how to create guardrails, how to have the agents make it a lot easier for you to do and reduce some of the burden. That lets you actually tackle multiple code reviews all at once and handle the abundance of PR. So let's jump into the different levers that they are to do code reviews and handle this flooding of. The first lever you can use is pre-commit hooks. They're a fantastic way to ensure cross-agent quality gates. Use a linter, a formatter. Look into semgrep. It's a fantastic way to add rules. All static checks. You can build your own static checks here and a bunch of other things that are very deterministic. So we don't use any context, we don't touch them all, and we can feed back the info back into the model so it can fix and run. And in this repo, I'll show you the example of how to do that. If we look at git hooks, and we have some pre-commit, we have 3 pre-commits, we have a linter, a formatter, and a semgrep. I'll show you the semgrep rules, what that looks like. This is a no F string in SQL, that could be a SQL injection. And you can see that, again, the agent will build a lot of these. And as you found problems, you can extend the rule set or build your own gates, whatever you want. That's a fantastic place to put those. And then we can even run that. We're going to run the pre-commit. And again, it found some formatting issues. It can auto-fix those. You can level them and layer them on things you want the agent to auto-fix, or have you fix that manually in case of some other things. Here, for example, if this injection happens, it caught an SQL injection. So that's an example of how to use hooks to improve the code quality automatically. You can give that back to the agent or autofix. So this is lever number 1. So the next lever you can use is use the harness hooks, which are another fantastic point. The harness hook lets you handle different models differently. And that's a place where, again, it doesn't contaminate the context. It costs you 0. For example, Claude has a built-in code review, which is very, very good. But if you run that in CI, it costs you money, $15 to $25 per review. Plus, hooking reviews inside PR sounds like the right place, and it is in many ways, but it costs you a lot more. The round trip slows down. If you do it looking at stuff, going back and forth costs you a lot of tokens to examine. And running that locally is faster, cheaper. If you run code review from within Claude, it's free, for example. And most important, it doesn't contaminate the context. You have nothing in the context. It's going to run the loop. Important, whatever you hook code reviews, make sure you run in a clean context. I've shown one on how you build your own code review. I have an example that you use Codex to review Claude code with a clean context is a very good way to tackle that and ensure quality. For now, I need to go up that. I'll show you how it's hooked up. Here it runs each bash command, so there's a lot of variety of what you can do with hooks. Really great place. They cost zero. They don't contaminate the context. I can't say how important that is not to confuse your model. And here's the file. This file will exit very quickly. If it's not a git commit, it will actually exit very quickly. There's a number of iterations. I set a loop so it doesn't go forever and ever and try to fix. It will try to self-heal itself. So it will run the code review, feed that back. And again, clean context, you can control this, you can build your own, you can do a bunch of things. It's very, very cool. It's a very good way to ensure quality, and let me show you a quick demo of what that does. So in essence, when we run that, it's just like we type code review, and that kicks off an agent that will do a multi-layer, and it's showing a workflow. It's going to do a dramatic. It's going to send out a bunch of agents to review the code. You can control that. You can control a rubric. You can define your own. There's a lot of stuff doing. And let's just fast forward to the results. So I'm just going to open the code review results. And here we see the results of the code review. It found a bunch of issues on main, confirmed, and these are very easy to send those back. Again, it's a duplicated where builder. A bunch of issues fit back into the agent can auto-fix them and ensure your code quality. Again, there's a lot of stuff that you can do in this. I encourage you to experiment. This is just examples and ideas for you to take and implement better code to make sure that we can withhold this stampede of not drowning in PR reviews. The next lever I would suggest you guys look into is actually binding in the CI and using some of those tools like CodeRabbit, Reptile, whatever there's out there. They're getting better and better. They cost a license, of course, but they provide you a lot of value, and you can use them as the last step to have another quality gate should you choose to. You don't have to. You can experiment and play around with different tools. Let me show you some of the stuff. CodeRabbit can do automatic reviews. You can review the stack change. It even gives you a really cool walkthrough. It gives you what are the commits, what are the files that change. It gives you a walkthrough of what happened, which is a really nice way to look at things. It shows you a sequence diagram. These tools are getting better and better. They can find other things that you didn't find, and maybe a lot cheaper than running Claude Code Review, although that one is fantastic. So again, there's lots of videos experimenting, showing different tools. Binding in the CI is good. It's like a last step. You can run your static checks as well, again, to ensure stuff. But that's another point where you can catch things automatically, have a lot of that done automatically for you. Categorize, for example, you can bind your own things in CI as well, like the scripts we had, to look at medium and low risk. So you could auto merge low risk or medium or high. You get some human feedback. Is a really nice way. In this case, it summarizes for you, but it's another really great point of a lever you can use, which is having it explain the code to you. We'll show that in a second. So another lever you can use rather than trying to read the whole PR, of course you can have it sum up, but you can also ask the LLM to explain it back to you. You could say that's a really fun thing. Let's make it into a fairy tale. So the agent will look at the diff and explain it back to you in a short, fun way that makes it easy to understand. So now it's the expense. So it's like one slip a little expense tracker. So that's it. The hall of budgets, and where it explains the flows of what's happening, the reporting, the chamber of secret. So you can read through that and understand the changes to make sure that this makes really, really good. So this is a really good way to catch things and understand things of what it's done and make sure that it's on track, especially on the more complex, risky one. You'll be like, oh wait, that's a problem. And if you're technical, it makes it very easy to spot when it went off and did things wrong. So that's another great example. And of course, the last example is to actually look at the code. So these are a bunch of levers that you can use. One more lever you can use, and this one is off the beaten path, it's a bit of a hidden gem, is run your agents not on your machine, but in the cloud. This lets you and lets others see the code and see the conversation. The code is auto-generated. The truth is a lot of times in the conversation itself of how the agent did and what it did. And if you can have that full context and share that between team members, you can review stuff easier. You can have the agent summary, and you can use still all the workflow that we discussed. So you can get an additional bonus of seeing that. And I'll show you a quick example. We've developed that before, and I'm now developing that further. It spins up a channel that lets you see it's going to spin up a VM, and it's going to run that code review inside a VM, and then we can see the whole conversation and what happened. So we'll let that run for a second. And as you can see, it spun up the VM. It runs the agent inside there. It even has a bunch of stuff. You can have a tunnel into it and see what's happening. And it goes off and starts to look for real bugs and thinks through stuff. And then you can actually chat with it and tell it to explain things back. And it's all running. So one engineer or even non-engineer like a CEO and others can work on that. They can work and create features and send it to an engineer to help collaborate and understand, and we can even commit the whole conversation. And this is a very new way to tackle things, and I think as we progress, we're going to see more companies share the knowledge and share the workflows, and this will really help review code and work and handle some of that abundance of PRs, and it's a very different paradigm of thinking, and I believe that with the abundance of PR, we need to reinvent how we do stuff. There's a full feature video on that, and I'll do a deeper dive in a later stage and show you exactly how it works. So yeah, that's another lever that you should think about. So to sum up, we still don't know how to do really good and fast code reviews, but it's clear that we need to automate that and try to remove ourselves from that loop while still keeping good code and following guidelines, whether it's from the Agents MD that we've done a lot of research, or in the guardrails after. And we've seen a bunch of solutions here using pre-commit hooks, using harness hooks, using local code review and static checkers, using CI, and of course also using sandboxes where you can see the conversation, which is a new paradigm altogether. So these are the tools that I've researched and found. I'm sure there's others. I encourage you to try yourselves. And I hope that this video has potentially saved you hours and days. So until the next one, please click like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.